depth, a little bit of eversion of the ankles, a little bit of heel lift, a little bit of forward trunk length. Okay? So here's what I want to do. This is the quick and dirty hip assessment. How to figure out what would be an optimal position and technique.
I have severe scoliosis, so.
Well, you're going to squat though, right?
Yeah.
So would it be nice to know which one's the best for you?
Yeah. I haven't missed my chiropractor. I haven't done what I'm supposed to do.
Well, we'll do what we can, all right? Put your back right here. All right, 1 foot on the floor. I want you to get your right leg, okay? Keep yourself nice and upright. We're going to pull your right knee up towards your shoulder, okay? Nice and slowly back down. Left side, please. Okay, slowly back down. Do it one more time for me. A little slower. Good, right there. Back down.
Good. All right.
What'd you guys see with the hip mobility right off the bat? A little bit wobble, but I mean she's side to side. But what'd you see as far as the motion that occurred? She got a great amount of range of motion in the hip, more than I did. All right. What did we see with the squat? Limited range of motion. All right. So first off, we got to figure out why she can't control from one position to the next. Is there a strength issue? Is it a mobility issue? Right. We got to figure these things out. So her depth and her squat depth and her hip mobility do not equal out. So does she look like she has a hip mobility problem? No. All right. So next thing we can do is say what else could potentially keep her from going down. So we talked about on the presentation some areas that were key for mobility, key for optimal squat technique. We talked about ankle mobility, hip mobility, trunk control, right? So first off, on the ground when you squat, what's the first thing that typically starts to move? Right? Your feet, your ankles, right? They're the first thing on the floor. So they're going to be what potentially can cause us to have a lack of mobility. So what I want to do is a quick ankle mobility assessment. So walk over here for me. I want you to put your left foot in front, and we're going to push your knee towards that little, come over here, this little stick. This gives you a mark to shoot for. Okay? That's perfect. That was going to see you. Okay? Scoot back. Find a spot where you can just barely touch that little stick. So scoot your foot back. There you go. That's probably too far. There you go, right there. Okay. You see the heel come up a little bit on the left? Okay. How far is her knee past her toes? Not very far, right? Do it one more time. Heel's moving up, knees just to the toes, maybe a little bit past. Let's assess the right foot. See if there's any difference. Okay. Push forward. What do we see? Mobility-wise, can you guys see over there? Not very far past the toes, okay? So if she's squatting down, and we talked about full range of motion, the importance of ankle mobility being about 38 plus or minus standard deviation 5 degrees or so, all right, that's a lot of ankle dorsiflexion to get a full squat, all right? She's not getting a full squat. She's barely even getting to a half squat. So we can assume right off the bat that ankle dorsiflexion mobility is not allowing that knee to translate forward, which we saw on a lot of the pictures and examples. It's necessary to create that depth. So right off the bat, we can see that her gastroc-soleus group is limiting that ankle dorsiflexion. Stretching ankle mobility drills would be something that would benefit her, all right? Is that the only thing that potentially could keep her from going down and staying down? Well, this when we do our second part of the assessment. We're going to do an assisted squat. So I want you to face that. Also, to face the table. I'm going to get on this side. You get on this side. Okay? I'm going to put an imaginary chair right here. All right? Your hands are staying on the table. Okay? I want you to sit back to that chair as low as you can go. Come back up. What do you guys see? We're down part, right? She has support. Real quick. Take a look at her feet. Don't move it. What are her feet doing? Toe out. Toe out. All right. So why didn't she do it here versus whenever I said sit way back? I don't know. But obviously something inside her said, I'm going to have to go down real low. So I got to put my feet in a position to be able to get that depth. When you toe out, what does your ankle typically do? Right? Does it have to go through dorsiflexion, or is it a little bit more of that everted position? Right? So you're not going straight over into that true plane of dorsiflexion. So toes out automatically allowed her knees to go forward. She sat down real low. That was a below parallel squat. She had assistance from the table. So that assistance is offering balance, but also trunk control. So here's what we're going to do. Second assessment. She has the mobility. Now we figure that out. Keep your feet where they are. We're going to squat down to your depth that you sit on that low box for. Now pause right there. Take your hands away. Come back up. Did she have control of that motion? Is it a trunk control issue? She's got pretty good trunk control. All right. So what can we do for her squat? Turn and face the audience. Okay. She started off normal stance. I wouldn't say wide or narrow. And when she squatted down, all right, she got to about right here. Forward trunk lean, heels up a little bit. All right, a little bit of forward, that ankle rotation. So that E version that we saw was probably her foot wanting to turn out that way. So that ankle dorsiflexion, are we going to be able to fix that in a day? Fix that in a week? Right? No, but we want her to squat. We want her to get strong. So variations, right? We want to change up a variation that's going to optimize what she has available for right now. So we put a box back here and said, okay, ankle dorsiflexion, limitation, hip mobility, fine. I know you can get down low. We're going to turn those toes up, right? We're going to get a box that gives her a point of contact, a reference point to shoot back, because we know she can't go knee forward because of that ankle dorsiflexion mobility. So that box squat variation is going to be a better variation for her to start working on. She can load up. So position here. Okay, I don't have a chair, but I will put myself right here to give you a point of contact. I want you to sit back on that chair and squat down for me. And then back up. Again. Sit back on that chair. That look better than the first option? Right, do you ever squat like this? Sometimes? You just didn't want to show me that the first time?
I did it there too.
You do what? This? Or
We're
that?
doing squat. Yeah.
All right, so your athlete comes in, you see all these things, you say, okay, that looks a lot better. You eventually can work away from a box to just going down to depth, pausing at the bottom, coming back up. If you're working on ankle mobility, you may not change a few degrees over the course of 3 months, but you can still get the adaptations and the stress that you want to the muscles by changing up your variations. Any questions? No? All right. I got time for another one. Anybody else want to be assessed? Who's got problem squatting or who thinks they're awesome squatting? We can grade you and check you out. All right. Tell me about your squatting history. What do you know about squatting?
I don't do squats very often because it's not fun.
It's not fun. All right. When you do squat, what do you squat?
Usually I'll use the kettlebell and do the goblet squat, or I'll hold the kettlebells here by the side and do it.
Why don't you do other squats?
A balance issue, and as far as the regular back squat, it's just a kind of a prevent injury thing.
Is there anything that is inherently bad about back squatting?
No, but I'm usually in the weight room by myself, so there's nobody to coach me on my form, and I've never been taught besides, and like I've never had somebody walk through it with me, like giving me those cues besides what I have learned as a trainer.
Okay. So somebody who likes to exercise, hates to squat because of fear of injury. So potentially somebody who is limiting themselves, right? But also doesn't feel comfortable when they back squat. So maybe you're going to get athletes like this, like I prefer to deadlift, or I prefer to leg press, but I won't squat. And when you look at it for the first time, you're like, well, that's why. Okay. So I've never seen Jeremy squat before, so I'm going to be the first time with you guys. Let's see if we can figure out why it is that he preferred. Look, I'm assuming you squat barefoot? Okay. She took her sandals off because they were pretty much non-existent anyway. But if you squat in tennis shoes, give yourself a little bit of heel lift. Another thing, real quick, for the young lady who squatted on her barefoot, would a heel lift improve her motion? Is that something that she should potentially work in? Right. You don't want to substitute bad mobility by giving her a giant heel lift and say, there you go, you're awesome. But while they're squatting, being in a tennis shoe is going to allow a little bit more knee translation, to clear up that ankle a little bit, but also you can work on the side, improving that mobility. And if she does like to exercise in flatter shoes, you can work up to that point. All right, so tennis shoes typically?
Two, yeah.
All right, so show me your general squat form technique that you would go through if you were squatting.
Normally,
Okay, more. Okay, turn and face me. So, all right, what do we see?
His back is flat.
All right, arch back. What else? Got a good butt wink at the bottom. Lean's got a good forward shift of his weight. Anything else? Real narrow stance. All right, so we got to figure out if that's his natural position, a narrow stance, how do his hips and how they're built, whether or not that's a good position or a bad position for his hips. If he just naturally did it, or if that's something he's felt that that's the only way he can get down low is to go into a really narrow stance position. So let's do our hip assessment, standing up, loading. All right. Back flat against the wall, grab your right hip. I'm sorry, right leg. All right, nice and slow. Pull up as far as you can, straight forward. Just type your hands on the way. All right. What does he see? Good hip mobility. Back straight, still maintaining. Now pick it up, turn out to the side a little bit. Okay. Come this one. Kind of just to the outside. Okay. Does he have any more motion? Does he look like he's different? Straightforward? All the way up. Just coming down. I'll turn off the side all the way up. Okay. Which one looks clear? Let's go to the left side. Difference between the two, left leg. All the way up, straight forward. Good. Turn out to the side. Does he have a difference in motion after he's done it a few times? A little bit more in a narrow stance. So he's picked a narrow stance, so that's just a natural thing he felt was more comfortable than a wide stance. Okay, let's lay on his back. Okay, so I would assume then whenever he's not moving, I'm going to get more straightforward, straight plane flexion than I am if I put him in an abducted external rotating position. So I'm grabbing his hip, he's relaxed, put my hand behind his back, feel forward. I watch his left leg, okay, he's going here and starting to raise up, getting some increased pressure on the heel. So I'm well past 90, he's got the depth to go down that little. Other side, let's see it's the same on the other side. Okay, about right there, starting to feel the pressure, right leg's moving a little bit, so the dissociation is creating that posterior pelvic tilt on the right as well. So he's got good motion in a straight plane flexion position, out to the side. Okay, whenever I do it, at this point right here with him externally rotated, I still don't feel any posterior pelvic tilt. His back's not flexed much. That's a little bit more than this actually straight plane. So doing it over here, make sure it's the same. Externally rotated, abduction, a little bit of posterior pelvic tilt. So he's actually got passively more externally rotated and abducted range of motion than he does in a straight plane. What was the biggest thing we saw with this squat? The big thing that stuck out at the bottom. Butt wink, right? Switch the edge. All right. Would we suggest that he load in a butt wink position? That excessive. A little bit's fine. Does it change with load? But if he doesn't like to back squat. He prefers goblet squats and front squats. What is that? When you put weight on your back versus putting weight on your foot, what does that automatically do? Changes the balance, right? So if you put weight on your back, you'll have a tendency to want to move that weight forward over your base support. So that increases your back, right? Back forward lean. You got to get this load over your feet, so you naturally have to pull forward. If that weight's already in front of you, you can keep your back more upright. You don't have to work on that flexion. So if he's got that butt wink and he keeps the weight in front, you can kind of equal them out. Versus if you push that weight on his back and he has butt wink, you're going to get an excessive amount, which in his mind, he's already got a fear of injuring himself. So maybe he feels like he gets a little bit too much stress with the back squat and that excessive butt wink. So something we can figure out. So sitting up nice and tall. Let's double check his hips. He's got a good amount of extra rotation. Abduction, let's check his extra rotation. I'm sorry, internal rotation is really good. Right? We saw that. We straight plane. Extra rotation. Just as good. A little bit more, maybe internal. Stop there. Extra rotation. Pretty good on that side. Internal rotation. Stop there. Extra rotation. A little bit tighter. We see that? More here. this here. So just real quick, if he's got more inter-rotation, less extra-rotation right here, would he be somebody that needs to be putting his hip in a position of abduction and extra-rotation in spots? Right? Probably not. If he's limited extra-rotation and we try and wind his stance, toes out, right, we're going to impinge sooner than if he's straightforward where he's got plenty of that inter-rotation position. So his stance is something we probably wouldn't change at this point. He's got good mobility in his hips, so his hip mobility is not a problem. It's that mobility at the bottom that he may not be able to control. So we're just going to see them maybe at the same time. Stand up for me. Go over here. So let's hands on the table. Let's assess and see if he's got the mobility, right? Let's assess and see if he's got the control of that motion. Hands on the table, control. Feet wherever you feel comfortable. Go squat down to the bottom of your squat. All right. So he goes all the way down. All right. Is that something that we want to put load on at that point right there? So we tell, all right, come back up here. Nice and slow. Hands on the table. Here's some support. Come back up all the way. All right. Stand tall. Slowly squat back down. Hands on support. Come back down. I want you to give yourself a lot of body weight on that table as you squat down. So we're watching the hips. All right. Any butt wink at that point there? Keep going. Hands. Right. So at this point, support and control, we don't see a lot of that butt wink. Right? At that point right there, when you go lower, right? Is it all that bad with them supported? Now when he gets to the very bottom, right, it starts to move a little bit. So we pull him up a little bit and say, all right, lock in, take your hands off. All right, let me see. See an increase? He lost it immediately. All right. So right off the bat, we say, okay, let's give him a certain point that he can shoot for. All right, we know his mobility is fine, but maybe motor control is his problem. So his motor control at the lower levels is creating that butt wink. He's not able to load it because he doesn't have that control in that position. So he's fearful of loading in the back. Not to say that he has to back squat, but if he wanted to and he just doesn't feel like he can, we say, all right, stopping at this point, hands on, squat down, support yourself. All right, so good neutral spine, depth. All right, so we stop right there. All right, lock in, hands off, come back up. Okay, a little bit of butt wink, so let's do it again. Come down, load yourself. All right, let's stop a little more shallow. Stop right there. Hands off, come back up. All right, so not much butt wink at that point. So in that position there, now let's do that a few more times. Load down, pause, come back up. Right there, pause. Hands off. Okay, through that range of motion, he's got control of his spine. He's got good mobility. Trunk stays upright. If we loaded him up, what would happen? He probably starts to lose control again. And so with that load, we have to make sure that we give him sufficient load to stress, but also not too much that's going to create those problems immediately. So this is a guy who prefers the lighter load, the kettlebell to the side that doesn't affect his spine. Right? In this position, we can do motion. Only thing that you can control. So squat variations, which ones limit the range of motion just inherently? We talk about front squats, goblet squats, we talk about box squats. Right? Which one's going to inherently limit the range of motion? Box squats, right? So if we can do a back squat to a box, give him the load that he wants, but give him a point of reference to go to so he doesn't stop or he doesn't go past the point of control. He can develop that strength. Right? Nothing to change with his foot position. It seemed to be pretty optimal. Right? This would be more of a motor control problem.
Right. So lunch is being served across the way where you had breakfast this morning. You'll resume back in here.